All right, so here we go. My first attempt to share my screen. There we go. So I put in a little slideshow so that you'll have something nice to look at as I kind of talk about Aurora. So this is a great picture from last year's in-person luncheon. So when I talk about Aurora, I talk about it as a women's fund, as this kind of crucial intervention in our community, that our goal is really to get more resources to women and girls, and that we're trying to make up for the huge deficit that out of the $385 billion that were given to charities last year, only 1.6% of them went to women and girls. So women's funds really seek to kind of shift some of those resources to make sure that they're getting to the most vulnerable members of our community. Right now, our major grant making that we're doing is going towards women's college success in Greater Hartford. So we're looking to get more women their college degrees, because we know that those degrees come with higher salaries, right? This is a concrete way that we can intervene in poverty in Hartford. And so we are funding programs that provide the kind of gendered supports that particularly low-income women, women of color, and first-generation women college students need. We'll also be sending out a lot of this information in a packet too, but I just think that, and when we get to talking about the program, that that really we're providing tools to women that are ready to just take them and then lift up themselves, their families, and their communities. And it's always super inspiring to me. Aurora also works to bring women's issues to the forefront of community conversations, right? To actually host those conversations, to bring together key people that can build solutions for what women and girls need in Greater Hartford. So this is a picture from last year's Women's Leadership Forum. You'll be seeing from us soon promotion of our next leadership forum. We're actually partnering with the Connecticut Historical Society this time. And we wanted to do it around the anniversary of women's suffrage. But even more exciting to me is that they have just completed research about women of color in Connecticut who were suffrage activists. So they're going to be kind of sharing that historical perspective. And then we'll be using some of Aurora's data to talk about women's civic participation now. So that's our next up and coming convening that we'll invite you all to. This was when we held our screening of the CPTV documentary Women's Work last year, right? So, you know, more chances to bring folks together to talk about the issues that are important to women and girls in our community. We also work for other ways besides our grant funding that we can kind of amplify and augment the programs that we support. So last year we helped Goodwin Now University host a one-day conference on women students and financial literacy. So that was a really exciting way for us to, we actually invited students from all of the programs that we fund, so that we were able to provide some additional strategies and supports for the women in the various programs. And then we also have our Women's Giving Circle, which so many of you are members of, where we're able to also fund in other areas that are important and that impact women and girls in our community. So we've, each year we pick a different theme. This year, I think, was just extraordinary. We made a pivot to do a COVID rapid response fund and raised a record amount of money, $18,000, that we immediately distributed into the community. So to organizations that we knew we could trust to get the support directly to the women and girls in our community. So that is a super exciting part of Aurora that really is about women in the community coming together, learning about a topic that's important to women and girls, learning about the organizations in the community that are providing great programs and solutions, and then coming together to decide how to best spend the money that they raise to make the biggest difference. And it's a really great group and a really terrific process. All right. So that was some background about Aurora. So what's going to happen with the Luminary Luncheon this year? We will miss seeing everyone in person, but it's really not a moment when we can have 550 women packed in a ballroom at the Marriott. But we have lots of things to celebrate and lots of great content to share. We're really going to, it's really going to be an opportunity to celebrate all of the women who have been supporting Aurora for the last 20 years. Instead of having one single designated philanthropist of the year, really we're celebrating all of the luminaries who for the last 20 years have invested in women and girls in our community. We are celebrating the milestone that we will have invested $1 million back into the community to serve women and girls. And that will have reached through our programming 5,500 women and girls. But even more if you consider our public programming. Just last year we had 600 people in person at programming that Aurora funded and organized. So those numbers are probably a lot higher. So really it's going to be a chance to celebrate the amazing contribution that supporters of Aurora make to the greater Hartford community. The virtual luncheon is going to be on October 16th at 12 noon. And we'll have, the program will start and it should, the goal is for it to be upbeat and exciting and inspirational. And I'll talk some more in just a minute about what that the kind of run of show is going to be, but it's going to be, we know that, right, your ability to kind of pay attention for Zoom things, right, keeps shrinking every day. So it will be, the main program will be concluded by 12:45, and then we'll have an opportunity for table hosts and guests to gather in separate Zoom rooms after to catch up and network with each other. And the registration price is $100. Okay, so what is going to be this fabulous content that Susan, you were asking? You know, how do we sell this to our guests as worth the price of admission, right? I think that it will be super inspirational. So I've had the chance to I'm already been able to see, we taped already the grantee testimonials. We have 3 main testimonials that I did as interviews, and I was totally tearing up by the end of each one of them. So we're really going to be able to let those young women shine, to really tell their stories, to really show the impact that everyone's purchasing a ticket for the luncheon. These are the young women whose lives you're changing. And these are the young women who are going to change the world, right, for all of us. We'll be able to think about the mission of Aurora in a way that I think is that is deeper and more complicated than we can usually convey at the in-person luncheon. So we'll have Evelyn Johnson, our board chair, gave a great speech that we recorded about the history of Aurora and how it's worked to date. And then we're going to put that context of this small women's fund that has had this tremendous community impact over the past 20 years in this larger context. We're going to have a special message from Elizabeth Barjas Roman, who is the CEO of the Women's Funding Network. And she's going to help us connect out small Aurora to this kind of global movement for women and girls and for gender and racial equity. So I'm really excited to have her as a featured speaker. I'm going to be able to say something about our research and data, which is not something we usually get to highlight at our luncheon. And then we're very pleased to have a keynote, a short keynote from Elsa Nunez, who is the president at Eastern Connecticut State College, who has done amazing work with underserved students from Hartford and bringing them to Eastern, and has written about it, and is a strong supporter of Aurora, and we're just thrilled to have her. So I think that guests will get a real ability to really emotionally connect with the mission of Aurora through our grantees, and we'll have 3 longer grantee testimonials, but also we're going to have montages of iPhone videos from lots of other students in the programs that we fund. So I think we'll get a really great picture of the kind of breadth of impact that Aurora has. So then at the end, you'll have the opportunity to come together and talk about the experience, and that's certainly always been a great part of our in-person event, is the networking, is the ability to see your friends across the room, to see all the other people that join you in supporting Aurora. So we're kind of virtually recreating that experience afterward. All right, so I feel like that's been a lot of me talking. Marie's about to give us some of the nuts and bolts of the registration, but does anybody have questions about the program or the content of kind of how this is going to work? Or anything?
Go ahead, Susan.
I'm just wondering how this can all be put in 45 minutes.
I have it timed down to the minute, and we're working with a videographer, so they're editing together all of the pieces. So they're editing everyone down so they fit into the time.
Wow.
Oh no, oh yeah. I feel like I'm producing the Oscars or something.
I think it's, I've said this, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I've said this before, but I just will reiterate for the new table hosts at the table here, that, this year, it's a great year to be introducing Aurora to maybe some people that that you think might be interested, but have been unable to attend an in-person event. So we are not restricted by geography like we are normally at an in-person event. And I know I'm going to be inviting people from New York and where I grew up in New Jersey, and my friends in Rhode Island. And, I think it's just, and because we're so focused on what Aurora is and what they do, it's like the perfect way to introduce them to the great work that we're doing. I'm really excited about this, the sole focus on what we do. And I think it's going to give attendees a really good idea of the 20 years of great work, and I'm really excited about it.
And also, Susan, to just speak to your question about, what, when we're talking to our guests, or people we want to invite, what are you getting from it? It's everything that Kathy just articulated and what Jenny did. But again, I think when I'm buying a ticket, it's again more that you're supporting the mission and the work of Aurora. And that's really what you're doing by buying a ticket. It's to allow these programs to continue, particularly now when it's ever so important, when the economy, the bottom's falling out and the jobs that are being secured, those with education and have more skill set, are able to navigate that more easily than those who have, are in service sector jobs, or those more at risk, with the ever-changing economy. So I think that really buying a ticket is, really in part a donation to support this mission rather than, a ticket to something. That's how I kind of see it.
Good point.
Any other questions about the kind of content of the show? It will be Zoom and a webinar. So
And I'm just going to add, there's also an element of live at one point.
Oh, yeah.
After that Jenny will be talking about doing the ask and asking for the donations. We'll have a live thermometer that will be preloaded to see, you know, where we are in terms of that. So there is an element of in-person along with the pre-recorded.
Yep. And we have an ambitious goal for the event, which is, you know, significantly lower than we usually raise with our in-person event, but we're hoping to raise $100,000. 35 of that comes from ticket sales, 50 from sponsorships, and then the last 15 from either before the event or a day of donations. So that's a little breakdown on the fundraising goal. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let Marie share her screen to explain about the registration and the, maybe start with the web page, Marie.
Yep, I will do that. Let me
People
do
can
this
see.
first here.
And if you haven't seen the new website, it is very,
yes.
very beautiful.
Yes, you have to check it out. So we're pretty excited because this all went live, 45 minutes ago. So we had you know, you got to get all the stuff in there. So I'm very excited. Anyway, and so that's my geekiness. You can have your data. I'm like so happy that this is working. So it's, if you come to our, if you just come to the Aurora main website, we have a banner across the top that says Luminary Luncheon, but you'll be given the landing page link that you can come here. And so there's various ways that you can register. This gives you a countdown. There's an explanation about the event. You could register there. We reiterate many times to the attendees that you'll be getting a password for the event so that we can, and it's very easy. It's 20 years, exclamation point. It'll be all over, but we want to really make sure that the security is sound when we don't have spare people coming in. So from here, you'll also be getting a packet later today with the recording of today and PDF files that have links to a new Facebook virtual table host group that you guys can share ideas. We'll do some polling. We'll get some feedback on what you'd like to see. And then there's also every sample email, tips for recruiting people, you know, language that you'd like to use. And I reiterate, just like we did today, you know, start out all of your messaging with what brought you to Aurora, or, you know, however you message to the people that you're going to invite. That's probably the most important part of not just what we say, but what your tie is. So anyway, so here you'd go to register today. It brings you to Eventbrite, which please let my Wi-Fi be working. Yep. And you can go here. It's really just the same that's on our website, gives you all of the about, and you can go to register. And what you'll do is, one of the things that we're asking is, as table hosts, if you could let me know whether you plan to buy your table and invite 10 guests or how many ever guests you'd like. You can let me know that. If you plan to buy half of it and have people pay half, you can do that too. I can set that up in the back end. It'd just be 2 codes. Sounds, just letting us know what your intention is. You know, I'm a table host, but I would be having my guests pay for themselves. So everyone's promo code is their last name. So as soon as I know it, you can go in here as a table host and say it's McNamara. And I would get the option of selecting guest of table host. And so this way it gives us a track of who's coming with who. And at the end, when we do a breakout session, if people want to do that, we can break you out into tables and we know who's there. So when you go to the checkout, you have the option before that. If you'd like to send a check, you can do that too. I gave the email address. You can fill out the registration, and there's a drop-down menu if you're interested in the post-event networking with those at your table or other attendees, and you can choose yes, no, or maybe if you're not sure yet. So you'd go into that, and you can, if you don't want all of the millions of Eventbrite's emails, you don't need to get that, and you would place your order. So there will be periodic emails that get sent out through Eventbrite, just reminding, thanking, and that this is how they'll get their Zoom link to attend the event with the passcode. And if for some reason they lose it or anything seems to happen, you can, the day of the event, everything will be on this landing page too. So you could, if you didn't have the link, it will be listed here on this access to join the main event. And I think that's about it. Is there something else I missed? Or if anyone has questions?
Do you want to use my code and show people what it looks like
Oh, that's
by
a good
the
point.
table?
Yep. I got ahead of myself. Leave checkout. So yeah, so Jenny purchases her table. And she would get this guest of table host paid. And they wouldn't be charged, but we would be able to capture their information. And all of this is in the PDF. You don't need to remember any of this. But it, yeah, so it's the same drop down if they'd like to come. And then we have it also set for sponsors. We have it set for grantees. So we'll be able to organize all of that through the back end.
Great. I have a question about security. So is the passcode connected to the email address? So that, so that
It's to the Zoom. So when they connect to the Zoom, to get in, the password is 20 years exclamation point.
Oh, okay. And they're getting the Zoom link to their email.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was on a recent event and it got hijacked by some very nasty people, and it was a travesty. So I want to make so that password security prevents that from happening. I'm assuming.
Correct. And we also have a consultant, Fatima, that will be, and her name and address are in all the PDFs, and they'll be coming on the day of, that will be on hand for making sure people are where they need to be. If they have any questions, you can contact her so that Jenny and I can make sure that the event is running smoothly.
Great. Thanks.
This is Ellen. So I'm a little confused about the code. Is that only if you use that only if you're buying a table? I'm not going to buy a table. I want my people to invest themselves.
Same. That's right. That's just like mine. So mine would be, as a table host, you still would give them I would set it up so that your promo code would be brown.
Is that too common?
Excuse me?
Is that going to be too common? I'm just wondering.
It's only if there happens to be someone else that's a table host whose last name is Brown, then I would give them a different last name,
Okay,
but I don't.
Okay, fine. Okay. So I create the promo code the first time I go in and buy my.
I'll create it for you. So as long as I know now that you'll have your guests paid, I create it. And then when your guests, it'll be in this PDF. When you send it to guests, I'd love you to come. When you get to the registration page, my promo code is Brown. If for some reason they did just go to individual registration, that's fine. I can, that's fine too. But this way, if you did want to break out at the end, it makes it easier to have everyone.
And will there be a way that we can track who has bought tickets that we've invited? Or do we have to go through you for that?
That's a good question. I think you probably have to ask me because it would reside in the back end, but that's what my job is. So let you know.
Wanting to maybe send out a reminder the day before, or maybe you're going to be sending ones to everybody also, but
yep, it should be, we have a communications calendar, so we can remind everyone to, a month away, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
But also, Marie, like maybe, a list of to each table host saying, okay, here's who's registered for your table at this point, whatever point it be, just so that we can run, track people down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, great.
And I can just make it, every 2 weeks I send you, and as we get closer, here's who you have. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
Would you like us to start asking people now?
So this afternoon, we'll be sending out this PDF with information for you. And then, sure. So we next week, we're planning on going to start promoting it out to the public. We wanted to let you know first, and start getting the word out. But yes, I will be sending that this afternoon, also with to all of the table hosts, but with these video clips and all the important information and the links.
And I'm assuming there'll be like an image invitation that we can like post to Facebook and post on our Instagram and send to people. Okay.
Yes, and we also are getting, I don't know if Jenny wanted, we're going to get printed mailing invitations that we'll have after Labor Day that we could give the table hosts if you wanted to write a handwritten note to anybody. And as Karen brought up yesterday, you could even screenshot that and send it in a text as a reminder if you wanted to do that. But we will have some printed invitations with a graphic and a reminder so that people can put it on their bulletin board or have it on their desk.
Great.
Yep. And so the graphics for the social media and stuff will come early next week. So we'll share those. That won't be part of the packet that you get later this afternoon, if that helps. And if your guests register and don't put in your code, it's no big deal. Just let Marie know and she can do it on the back end. It's really no problem. That sound good?
And remember, we're not really limited by 10 people at our table. We can have 20 people at our table. So if you have lots of friends, invite them all.
That's right. Thank you.
All right. And so the last thing that I wanted to share was, there was the registration, is that you'll get an invitation, and it will also be in the packet that we're having a special table host Facebook group. So this will be another place where you can get either more ideas about ways to ask people, information to share, a way to network with other cool women who are table hosts. So that's all set up, and this is what that's what this page looks like. Is there anything else I should say about the Facebook group, Marie?
No, I don't think so. There should be a link, and then you can join it, or otherwise we can invite you to join well, I would say first, like Aurora, if you don't already follow us, if you are on Facebook, and then we can also invite you in.